Now back to Inside West Virginia Politics with Mark Curtis.
Welcome back to Inside West Virginia Politics. A fascinating discussion this Sunday. We have Commissioner Brendan Carr from the Federal Communications Commission visiting from Washington, D.C., along with Senator Shelley Capito, who's here a lot because you represent West Virginia. You're in D.C. a lot, too. You're all over the place.
Virginia.
Let's talk about telehealth. Why is this such a big deal? And kind of in a nutshell, what is telehealth and why is it so important to the future of medical care, not only in West Virginia, but the whole country?
Yeah, the Federal Communications Commission, where I work, we've been active for about a decade in supporting broadband to connected brick and mortar facilities. You can deliver high quality care right in those facilities. But there's this new trend in telehealth, which we call connected care everywhere. So now, right on your iPhone or an iPad, you can get health care apps delivered to you. You can do video visits right there with a doctor. So we're here as part of our effort to stand up a new $100 million pilot program that can support that new trend in telehealth outside of brick and mortar facilities. We think of it like this transition from Blockbuster video to Netflix. You can get high quality care now wherever you are as long as you have a broadband connection.
And Senator Capito, obviously a big portion of your trip will be spent in Boone County and then back in Charleston. What do you hope that the commissioner takes from seeing a rural hospital like Boone County's?
Well, I think he'll see the challenges, obviously, of rural delivery, health delivery, all across the country, certainly in West Virginia. So let's say you come into the emergency room in at Boone Memorial and you're exhibiting the signs of a stroke. With the telemedicine arrangement that they have with CAMC, they can feed back to CAMC to a specialist that tells them you move forward with this protocol or airlift this person into the trauma unit here in Charleston. And you can make, because we know the first 4 hours after you have a stroke are the most critical time for that will count towards what your recovery will be. And the other thing is we have high incidence of diabetes, so to be able to monitor that through retinal scans remotely. A lot of our elderly citizens don't have a lot of time and money to travel to make sure that they have their all their health needs taken care of. This can eliminate some of that, and it can also save money. Because in the end, if you're weller, or if you're better, your health is better, in the end that saves money for everybody. And not to mention, obviously, the quality of life issues.
I want to throw out something here because I understand there's a resistance and reticence out in the public. They're like, I don't know if I want all my medical stuff being transferred over Wi-Fi, and there's concerns about privacy. I'm a stakeholder in this. I participate in telehealth. I have a disorder called sleep apnea, where you stop breathing in the middle of the night. So I use one of those CPAP machines. It makes me breathe. It pumps oxygen into me while I sleep. As it does that, it transmits all my data to the hospital, to the sleep clinic, to my doctors, to the insurance company, and to the provider of the medical equipment. It's fascinating. I don't have to do a thing. And so for people out there who are reluctant, I would imagine you're running into some reluctance, it's really kind of cool. It does everything for you. I don't got to call any doctors to do anything. Pay the bill when it comes, but they take care of that too. So I put that out there as an example, as to help deal with people who are reluctant to try to venture into this new area of medicine.
We're exactly right. You know, we've seen patients that are sent home, for instance, with a Bluetooth-enabled blood glucose monitor. So for diabetes, for instance, they can prick their finger every day, and the number is automatically sent to an iPad. And that iPad right there in their home can tell them, eat this today, exercise this way. And the people we're seeing enrolled in this program, their numbers are coming down, their health is improving. And so one reason why we're out here in West Virginia is to see where telehealth can help bridge essentially a doctor divide. You have rural healthcare clinics closing by the dozen across the country. You have geographies like that here in West Virginia where it's very difficult to get to a healthcare facility in person. And so the center has really been leading not just on broadband to make sure everyone has the connection, but on telehealth and healthcare initiatives as well. And those are two passions of mine, so we're glad to get out here to see that.
Well, I'm diabetic too, so sign me up for that, Adrienne.
Well, so a question for both of you. Obviously, it seems like West Virginia is a perfect place for telehealth, but if you can't connect, you can't use telehealth.
Well, that's true, and that's why I think the connection issue is so absolutely critical and important. But you know, another way I think telehealth can really be useful in the Mountain State is through mental health services. When you talk about rural access, not only do people have trouble getting to rural clinics, or a lot of them are closing, the specialists are not in those areas. They're somewhere else, several hours away, or probably even sometimes several states away. And I think the VA has done some experimental, some pilot studies in this area on the mental health issue. And for us here in the Mountain State, I think that would be a big bonus for us to be able to access mental health professionals, with checkups and then, all the other things that you could do. You could even do talk therapy, cognitive therapy over the internet. You do have to have the connection first, which is why I'm glad the commissioner's here.
I've got to ask the commissioner while you're here a corporate question. We're part of Nexstar Media Group, and obviously a lot of the bigger companies are interested in expanding in providing more, not only television service, but community service around the country. Is there any discussion at the FCC about raising the audience cap? Right now we're limited to 39% of the national audience. Some of the bigger companies like ours would like to expand more. Is that possibly in the cards coming down the road?
Right. We're looking at a lot of options to incentivize more investment in local news gathering. The FCC's rules in the media space have for a long time assumed that people get their news two ways. Once in the morning when the newspaper clunks on your front doorstep, and once at night when you turn to one of 3 local broadcasts. So we're looking across the board at ways we can update and modernize our rules to reflect the fact that you compete today in a vastly different marketplace with social media providers, online news outlets, and we want to make sure our rules are updated and modernized to let you compete.
All right. It's a pleasure having you here. This has been a fascinating discussion about all things broadband and healthcare in West Virginia. Commissioner Brandon Carr from the Federal Communications Commission, thanks for being here, and Senator Capitol, Republican, West Virginia. You're welcome to stop by all the time. And I want to thank my co-host Adrienne Robbins as well. But we're going to have more of Inside West Virginia Politics on some other subjects.